What's up, guys? AG Sports back again, and I'm not sure what happened with the last video. I'm sorry, guys. I was trying to change it up a little bit, trying to make a video sooner than I probably could have otherwise, and I don't know. It got uploaded and then it didn't get uploaded, and it was like a draft. So I come in today to make this video, and I realize that it's a draft. And anyways, so sorry about that. Did not get released until like today, literally. So I'm not gonna count that pick. The pick that I had given on last Friday afternoon was the Bills under when it was back at 42.5. That one did hit. Again, sorry, you guys didn't get to take a part in that one. But even without that one, we still end up going 2-1 on the week. My personal week at 3-1 was really good. Felt really, really good to get back in that win column. But secondly, the 2-1 that was given out was a really strong 2-1. There was no like ifs, ands, or buts about it. Obviously you feel fortunate every time you win, but they were all pretty comfortable wins where I felt like we were on the right side. So the first one was the Bucks and Colts both being teased down earlier in the week. So it was the Bucks -4, Colts -1.5. We ended up not even needing the teases, but again, they both win. The Broncos at Chiefs under what was 47, I believe, when we grabbed it. And that went well under as well. So both of those ended up being the wins. Again, if you were on that Bills game, and I'm kind of kicking myself in the ass because I really like that pick. And in the video, if you go back and watch it now, I was like really excited about it to the point where I was trying to make a video in my car because I wanted to get that pick out. But anyways, the one loss on the week was the Ravens at Steelers. It was the Ravens -3 at the Steelers, and they were winning for the most part, or the majority of that game, and at the end the Steelers just come back and win it from them. It happens. Obviously we would love to get a clean sweep, but again, 2-1 or 3-1 is better than going getting another losing week, right? So a couple of things on this one. I have a game in particular that I am looking at this week. I'm not really sure which way I want to go with it because there's two leans I have. And then more importantly, I want to go over some of the stats data that's updated since I last gave you guys any info on the algorithm and numbers and all that kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and start with that first, and then we'll get into the games. As far as key numbers are concerned, the last time we spoke, it was 3 as the obvious key number. I think it was like at 17% back then, meaning that 17% of games were decided by exactly 3 points. That has come back down a little bit, and that was kind of expected. We did expect some regression in that particular number. Yes, usually 3 is a key number, but not to that extent. On the flip side of that, 7 had not been showing up the way that we were expecting it to. 7 was down at like 5%, which was even lower than like the 10 and the 2. And 7 is usually more of a key number than that. So everything has kind of regressed back to the mean. So the 3 is still the main key number. It comes up at 15% of the time. The 6 is still a key number, so that did not go away. The 6 is still a key number, but 6 and 7 are both showing up 7% of the time right now. That is actually tied with the 2, which the 2 is a totally brand new one. It does coincide with our theory, though, as far as the extra points being moved back, more teams going for 2, possibly not converting, or maybe they do convert. And either way, we end up with a 2-point factor more often than not now. So those are your key numbers. 10 is still a key number, but it is only showing up 6% of the time. But again, even at 6% of the time, that's about double most numbers, because most of the numbers, if you're looking at your screen right now, are going to show up about 2 to 3% of the time. So these numbers here, especially the 3, is really, really big. So if you can get a number to go through that 3, especially if you can get it through the 3 and the 2, that's huge. So if you have a 7-point game and you tease it down to 1, you picked up 4 of the 5 key numbers, and really you picked up the 4 biggest key numbers, and vice versa. If you have a game at like 1.5 and you tease it up, so you're teasing it through the 7.5, or through the 7, I should say, same thing. You're going to get all those key numbers. So this is really like your key area here. The funny thing is, once you get out of this 7, yes, the 10 is showing up 6% of the time, but that's kind of just, I guess I would call it a quote-unquote minor key number. The next key number is really a 20. Over 19% of games are decided by over 20 points, meaning that 1 in 5 games basically is going to be a blowout. So 1 in 5 games, just the spread is probably not going to matter at all. That's just the way it is. It's been like that for a while. If we go back to 2019, it was 29% of the games. If you go to 2020, it was 35% of the games. And so this year we are at, what did I say, 20%? 20% of the games. So it's a little bit lower than average. But at the end of the day, again, you still have about 1 in 5 games that are going to just be total blowouts. So that's the way it is. But those are just some updates on the key numbers. As far as the coaching report card and what are we looking at here, really not a whole lot of changes. Let me just reorganize this so you can see who the leaders are in this report card. So through the first 13 weeks, the top 10 teams are going to be the Buccaneers, the Chargers, the Rams, Cardinals, Chiefs, Packers, Dolphins, it's definitely a surprise, Titans, Colts, Washington. Those are your top 10 teams. Now, couple of surprises. So yes, Dolphins are definitely a surprise, but if you've been paying attention or if you've been listening to podcasts or anything, you know the last 4 weeks or so the Dolphins have really turned it on. Tua is not just playing better, but the defense is finally kind of stepping up and getting back to where they were last year. That some of that is, coaching, some of that is just players, especially younger players kind of rounding into form. So while that is a surprise, it is something that it was within kind of the range of outcomes at the beginning of this year that the Dolphins were going to be good. You might even remember, if you've been listening to me for long enough, I had Tua as a MVP bet, and that was way early in the season, before the season even started. It was like 65-1 or something like that. So obviously that was a long shot, not something that I was throwing a whole bunch of money on, but I doubt that that's going to happen. But just the fact that the team is looking so much better is kind of some solace in that hey, look, it wasn't like this team is total dog crap like it had looked through the majority of the season. So that's one thing. Secondly, the Washington's grade has actually surpassed the Cowboys, and that is somewhat worrisome if you're a Cowboys fan, or if you're holding on to like a Cowboys win ticket as far as like their division is concerned. And why is it concerning? Well, let me show you. So first of all, the Cowboys only have a 2-game lead on Washington right now as far as the division is concerned, and there's no way in hell that there's more than one team coming out of the NFC East and going to the playoffs. It's just not going to happen this year. It's actually kind of a tighter race as far as Washington and the Eagles are concerned. But Washington, as far as my grading algorithm is concerned, is grading out at the highest team right now, and they really had not peaked just yet. Now, the Cowboys obviously peaked earlier in the season, and by peaked, I mean they were playing like, as efficient as they were going to. The offense was humming, the defense was doing good, and now they are still a good team. But you have seen them hit a streak of a couple of bad games. Now keep in mind some of those were coming off injury. One of those was against the Chiefs. One of their losses comes against the Buccaneers. So the strength of competition is a lot higher. But where this gets a little dicey, if the Cowboys start to take a step back, and if Washington really has rounded into form, the Cowboys are going to play Washington 2 times in the upcoming 5 games here we have left in the season. So if Washington's schedule is weird, because they're going to play the Cowboys this week, then they're going to play go to the Eagles, then they're going to go back to Dallas. So they're going to play Cowboys in within 3 weeks. They'll play them twice, and then after they play the Cowboys again, then they're going to go back to Washington to play the Eagles again. So they're going to go Cowboys, Eagles, which, if again, going back to the algorithm, having these teams play each other so quickly as far as the turnaround is concerned is not good. If you are Washington right now, the winner of game 1, when the rematch is within 3 weeks, so exactly this, where Washington has 3 weeks in between games, the winner of game 1 only wins 68% of the time and only covers, specifically for us, 51% of the time. So, and and I apologize. I'm saying 3 weeks. This is 2 weeks. So we should be looking up here. So if they play again in 2 weeks, which is where we're at, they only win 26% of the time and only cover 30% of the time. So if Washington is able to beat the Cowboys this upcoming week, we would not expect them to then be able to win again in Dallas 2 weeks after that. And even if they were to win this week, because they are 5-point underdogs, we would not expect them to cover the spread 2 weeks from now when they play again in Dallas. And that's just the way that football works. If one team wins, whoever their opponent is will go back, readjust, find out what happened, what didn't work, what was going on that caused them to lose. They'll make the adjustments. The team that won typically doesn't really have a whole lot to adjust, or even if they do, even if they think that they should be changing something, they don't really have a good starting point because everything went their way. They won. So that's just the way it works. And this is stats that go back years and years and years, and of course, as everything else, it was at least influenced by Warren Sharp as far as why we should be looking at this number. So it's a long shot, and it's definitely hard for Washington to overcome these odds, but it is very important as far as I'm concerned in just knowing that Washington is grading out higher than both the Cowboys and the Eagles right now. Everybody else here as far as top 10 is pretty much where where we would expect them to be. The Bills, the Ravens, the Cowboys, the Patriots, those teams are really, really, really good, and they are still top 16 teams. That's still your top half of the league. The Raiders and the Titans are the two teams that are up here that probably shouldn't be. If I had to take anybody out and we've tried to just say, hey, look, there's some teams in here that shouldn't be where they're at right now, it's those two teams, and it's not because of anything with the players necessarily. It's just changes that have happened. The Titans, well, I should take that back. It is because of the players in the Titans' case. Derrick Henry, the loss of Derrick Henry is a huge blow to them, and they just really haven't been able to get anything going. And it just seems like they were losing one player after another, from Derrick Henry to Julio Jones to A.J. Brown. They're really just depleted at this point as far as talent is concerned. And usually in the NFL, the talent distribution is pretty even. But when you're going to your backups, you are effectively playing like a Division 3 versus Division 2 kind of game. And it's just the way it goes. Unfortunately, that means the Titans are probably going to limp into the playoffs, but they are going to make the playoffs and be an early exit, which is good for us as far as gambling is concerned, but sucks if you're a Titans fan. Secondly, though, as far as the Raiders are concerned, we all know what happened with them, with Gruden, with Ruggs. Same thing here. Again, the team itself was probably pretty good as far as my paper is concerned, and the way I grade the teams, they looked pretty good. The offense was decent enough to kind of get them to where they need to be and make the playoffs and things like that. But with the loss of the coach, with the loss of Ruggs, we see some kind of juggling back and forth, and they had a good showing against the Cowboys. The team got up for that game. It was a big game for them. Other than that, they've been pretty flat, and I don't really expect them to show much life, especially this week. They're playing the Chiefs. Now, maybe they find a way to keep it kind of close because it is a 10-point spread, and maybe they do cover the spread, but as far as winning or kind of measuring up to where we have them graded at, I very highly doubt it. That's kind of the big picture view here. Again, if you're not familiar with this grading system, this is my personal grading system that I use, that I created. I give it away for free. If anybody still wants it, it is kind of late in the season, but if anybody out there still wants it, just put your name, however you want me to contact you, in the comments below. I'll get a free copy to you, just so you know what is all in here. You do get the amount of one-score games that a team has had, and that's very important, especially when we get to the game that we're going to talk about, how frequently they win these one-score games. So like the Buccaneers, again, huge success when it comes to playing these one-score games, and that's what you expect when you have a veteran coach and a veteran QB who know how to win those games, how to do the little things right, like the time management, the play calling, all that kind of stuff. Huge. One thing before I move on from that, I want to mention this, the Bills. Again, I just watched them lose to the Patriots, and I said this earlier in the season when they were not grading out as high as a lot of people maybe thought they should have in my algorithm, and I said the reason they had not done that is because they could not prove to us that they can win these one-score games, and again, they lose another one-score game. and it shows up. They've had 4 one-score games in the entire schedule or the entire season so far, and they have not won a single one of them. And that's huge because when you get into the playoffs, when you are supposed to be a high-caliber team and you're playing against other high-caliber competition, you're not going to have these blowout games every week. You need to know how to win those games. You need a coach that knows how to call the right plays, get his players into the right position, correctly manage the clock, and you need a QB who can also kind of help with facilitate that and be that on-field general and make sure all his guys are in the right spot and that they're hurrying to the line and all the little crap that comes with football. And they just have not been able to do that so far. So again, just wanted to touch on that. EDSR, early down success rate. I'm not going to go through the whole list, guys. I just want to, again, kind of give you a reminder because I know it's been a minute since we've gone over all this stuff. Your run rate, your pass rate, total plays, blitz rate, sacks given up per game. Again, another huge one because that is has a very strong correlation to turnover ratio. Your QBR, which again, quarterback rating indicates how frequently the team should win if their quarterback plays the way that they have been playing or the way that they played for that particular game. So again, with the Buccaneers, if Tom Brady plays the way Tom Brady plays, they should win about 66% of their games. Just some quick math. In a 17-game season, that comes out to about 12 wins, and they're currently 9-3. So I would say just about on track to get to that 11 to 12 win mark. So all of that is being said, again, really just giving you guys some updates. Let's go ahead and get into the plays, though. So the game that I'm really narrowing in on here, and if you notice from last week, there was only 3 plays given. Would have been 4 without the video snafu, but either way, 4 plays is a lot less than what we were giving early in the season when it was like 8 plays, 10 plays a week. Really narrowing it down, really being selective with what I'm going to put out there. The game I am looking at, though, is the Saints-Jets. One of the games that's not really getting a lot of love. A lot of the games on the card this week are just not attractive at all. Some of them look really good as far as, like playoff implications and things like that, which is awesome. But as far as betting is concerned, the Chiefs-Raiders, yeah, the Chiefs should win that game. Are they going to cover a 10-point spread? They just covered a big spread this week. And the Chiefs have not really been great for us, or for gamblers, at covering these large spreads. Vikings-Steelers, that game is such a damn toss-up. The Vikings can lose to the Lions, but the Steelers can also, they don't have the offense to get out of a paper bag. Like, it's just the way it is. So the over-under, again, yeah, you'd lean to the under, but if somebody gets hot, it's such a damn toss-up with a lot of these games. So I'm looking at the Saints-Jets, and really the reason I'm looking at that is that I am expecting a low-scoring game, and the low-scoring games this time of year is better as far as a betting perspective is concerned because there are fewer variables. If we know that both teams are going to be relatively slow-paced, run teams that have decent defenses, the weather is setting up to not really be terrible because it's not going to be super, super windy like it was in Buffalo this past Monday, but it is going to be rainy. It's going to be at least 10-mile-per-hour winds with probably some gusts in there that are going to get it over the 20-mile-per-hour threshold, which is, again, kind of a key wind level as far as football is concerned. So all of that stuff, though, really leads me to want to take the under in this game. So the under 43 is a lean for me right now. It's not a pick just yet, but it's something I'm looking at, and I'm going to be closely monitoring that total to see where it goes. A few things that we have kind of working for us in this one. So again, the Saints, if you've watched their last couple of games, their offense has just not really been looking that great. They ended up putting up 17 points against the Cowboys. The Cowboys' defense is very boom-bust, and the Cowboys were able to get 3 takeaways. They were able to get 3 takeaways because they don't really have a playmaker on that Saints team, especially because Kamara was out last Thursday. Now, he may be coming back this week. He may not be. Really just depends on his knee and how he's feeling and all that kind of stuff. If he comes back, there's a possibility that the Saints get another touchdown. And honestly, I would increase the number that I'm putting them at by about a touchdown. And right now I have them at about 17 points for this game. So again, if Kamara's there, I would raise them up to about 24. But other than that, other than Kamara, the Saints really don't have a lot of offensive firepower. They've been playing just kind of okay. Their defense is really what's keeping them in the game, because their defense has been pretty much lights out. They're great rushing defense. I believe they're number 1 per DVOA as far as rush defense is concerned. They just like to play slow. Taysom Hill is going to do what Taysom Hill does. He's going to run the ball. He's going to do a lot of checkdowns. He's going to do a lot of left-right horizontal stuff and not really go super far deep down the field. Sean Payton's going to do that. Sean Payton is going to let him play to his strengths. He's going to play the way he wants to play.